see more offer. I say to you tonight, if you like strong leaders, you got Mia Amor Mottley. I say to you tonight, if you like strong leaders, you have here Amor Mottley. She is the only one. There's no one in this election, I can tell you, that has the experience she has. There's no one that has the ability. There's no one that has the talent. There's no one that has the record of success. There's no one. I tell you tonight, we have had good, strong leaders, and we have another. I tell you, that leader is Mia Amor Mottley. If you like strong leaders, you like Barrow, you like Tom, you like Arthur, you gotta like Mia. I tell you tonight, people, I tell you tonight, Mia Amor Mottley, the next Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Amor Mottley, she has the ability, she has the experience, tried, tested, and proven. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you tonight, she is as good as any and better than most. As good as any and better than most. As good as any and better than most. Mia Amor Mottley. Barbados needs you. The Barbados never party needs you. Barbados needs you. Come to the rest.
It's one big family and we're rolling with BLP and together we rolling, together we moving, together we working, and we building. Tell me how you're feeling. You know why? All the way with the BLP, all the way one family, all the way with the BLP, all the way with Mia. Come let me step with Mia. We making it better. With Mia. Climbing up the ladder. With Mia. And we ain't looking back, lad. Red. We ain't taking no more heavy load.
Good night. Good night to the people of Christchurch. You saw me move with a speed just now. Because I did not want to be denied not a minute from speaking to you tonight. Not one. I love you too, darling. I love you. And you know, it is because we are trespassing in a territory of uncertainty. We really are. And we have a government on whom everybody has passed judgment. I am told that there are barely 50 people in St. Peter tonight, Colin, that were listening to the Democratic Labour Party. But I see a sea of red at Briar Hall tonight. And wherever you go and whatever you read, people are passing the judgment that this government has forgotten about the people. This government has forgotten their responsibility. This government is holding on for their own interests and not the interests of the people. This government is doing nothing to fix this country. And you know, and I know, that the country is not well. But you know, I have come here tonight to tell you that this country may not be well. The vital statistics may not be good. The foreign exchange reserves, by their own admission, is down to 4 weeks. And they're running from larboard to starboard to see who would lend them some money to build it up. People are working 2 and 3 days instead of a full day, full week. Unemployment is up and underemployment is up even more. People's savings have gone through the others. People don't got no savings no more. You heard Ryan talk about it tonight. Businesses are not making decisions to go forward and invest because they can't get any certain decisions from anybody in government. Good night, my brother Clyde. Because they can't get it. But you know what is important? Is that regardless of all of that, I have come here tonight to tell you that the situation is salvageable. And it is salvageable not because of anything that they have done, because they have done their damnedest best to destroy Barbados in the last decade. But it is salvageable because we have a solid foundation. When I was growing up and you saw some of the early fast ballers, we would be told that they could make it because they had the stamina. They had the early groceries. Remember that? They had the sweet potato and the eddies and the yams. And therefore they could get through anything because they had a solid foundation. And Barbados, prior to Frondell Stewart and this band, I shouldn't even associate anything called B with them. That group of persons, they, in spite of reaching the depths that they have reached, they cannot destroy this country called Barbados. And I feel that I have to tell you that tonight because as Kerry spoke eloquently from this platform tonight, he told you and referred yet again to the article in the British Telegraph. But more importantly, he also referred to the fact that we will be taking a rest for the Easter season after tonight because we believe that we must respect the traditions of our society. But I want you, when you take this break with us, we're going to give you some homework. Because you need to stop and study and think. And you need, when you stop and study and think, you need to share with your neighbors, with your family, with your work colleagues. 2 questions. 2 questions. And these 2 questions I want you to carry with you from Briar Hall tonight. 1, which team is the best team that is ready to lead Barbados from day one? From day one. Capable of fixing this country with you from day one. Before, I don't want no immediate answer yet. And the second question, and I'm going to talk to you about these things tonight. The second question relates to, in whose interests do these various parties act? In whose interest does the Democratic Labour Party act today as the government? In whose interest will the Barbados Labour Party act? And I come to ask you these questions, cognizant that the party which I lead, the oldest political party in the English-speaking Caribbean, will celebrate its 80th anniversary on Easter Saturday, the 31st of March. It's not only about Tom. Let's start with Grantley. Because you have to ask why and what would have caused men and women to come together, and in whose name did they act? And were they the best team for the times in the 1930s and the 1940s and the 1950s? And in whose interest did they act? Did they act in the name of the workers of this country who did not know what it was like to have representation or to be able to have holidays, as you've heard me speak on this platform before? In whose interests do they act? Or are they consumed as the Prime Minister seems to be, with how history will record him as being the 7th Prime Minister of this country. I ask you first, which is the best team? And I am glad that my team tonight from Christchurch has come on this platform, because you can see the goods for yourself. You see the men for yourself. But it wasn't only about that. Because when you look on Thursday in St. John, I had cause to briefly refer to this. That the team that Frondel leads, you would have thought that in the process of candidate selection, he would have tried to add something to the team to make it look a little better, to give it a little more competence, to give it a little more ability to meet the challenges of the day. From the economy to the South Coast Sewage Project, from the environment to the broken down infrastructure and to the quality of services that you can't get in this country, from the schools to the hospital, from the absence of morale in the public service. And what does he do instead? George Connolly, Rodney Grant. And I will tell you about Rodney Grant when I get to the pine. Not tonight. Kerry called, it was you who called Patrick Todd a brand new second-hand car. But I hate to do this, my man. I hate to correct you from a platform. Because a brand new second-hand car might suggest that he was only used for those who are untutored twice. But he is a third-time reject. He was rejected from the city. He was rejected from the people of St. Michael North. And somehow or the other they want to feel that they can dump him in St. Michael Northeast. Well, we choose not to take him as a dump. We choose to have mercy upon him. But you didn't see them go about the task. And now in St. John, as I told you, between Twiddly D and Twiddly Dum. And we don't know who is D, and we don't know who is dumb. But in Christchurch, they give you back the same choices. And what do you have in Christchurch to line up against? You have Dennis Lowe. The Low Road. A man who has confounded all of us by scoring an F in every aspect of the ministry that he runs. Ignoring the needs of the people and treating to the people in Christchurch East as if they were chattel. The only thing that everybody from St. Lucie to Christchurch knows about Dennis Lowe is that he treated his mother well. And against him, you have Wilfred Abrams. I have come because this is now the closing aspects. And you heard from this platform tonight a young man who is diligent, a young man who cares about people, a young man who didn't come up with a gold spoon, but who knows what it is to work hard for what he wants, who does not believe that corrupt action is the route by which he will achieve things in this world. You heard a man who could have gone anywhere else, but who said, no, I have come to represent these people. I made a connection with these people. They may not have wanted to vote for me, just like some days you don't feel like eating fish. Next week you might decide you want to eat the fish. And he stuck and has stuck with the people of Parish Land and Fairy Valley, and Coverley and Silver Sands, Serious court. And when I go through those areas, the people have said that they appreciate his loyalty and his sense of care. He does not come to treat them as chattel. And who do you have in Christchurch South? A man by the name of John Boyce, whose most charming quality is that he is overbearing and unmannerly. And a man whose most endearing quality is that he does not care and that he does not know that he does not know. And this is not Amor Mottley or the Barbados Labour Party speaking. How does a man serve as Minister of Health and has no empathy, no caring, no capacity to feel? His own people complain that if you call John Boyce and ask John Boyce about a patient in the hospital, he says, and what does that have to do with me? It is a fact. Cynthia can attest to that. I can attest to it. He treats the hospital as if it is an engineering workshop that is full of metal, not human beings with hearts. And yet, let us not forget, and Kerry reminded you of his abracadabra moment in the sea when he went to bathe in the ocean. And thereafter there shall be no sewage in the sea. But what he forgot was that this was the same John Boyce who, in the letter from Patricia Innes, when I first went to foundation school, and I told you all about Frandel having to call me about the sewage system. And what did she say then? I am aware that the Ministry of Health sent a memo on the 11th of May 2015 stating that the sewage is contaminating the Graham Hall swamp. John Boyce had a responsibility not just as Minister of Health, but as the Member of Parliament for Christchurch South. And on that alone, he must be sent packing, because he has not just let down the people of Christchurch South. He has not just let down the people of Christchurch, but he has let down the whole country of Barbados for the last 2.5 years with the madness he has allowed to take place in this country, the sewage system. I tell you that John Boyce needs to go. And that, how can you have the children at St. Lawrence Primary, good Lord, day in and day out with the smell? How do those children and teachers withstand 6 and 7 hours? You know, it's only the other day that they closed the school. And they only closed the school, William, after we had the town hall meeting up there bringing attention to the conditions. And we were barely in that school 3 hours. Can you imagine what those teachers and what those children have had to endure? But if you don't worry about even want to study them, how do you deal with the people living right round by the sewage plant? How do you deal with the people living all out there? There has to be something fundamentally wrong. And in the meantime, the cabinet is making decisions to commit to $185 million at the airport when you have not tried to commit to decisions to solve the South Coast sewage system. I say it is a shame. But who do you have instead of him? You have Ralph Thorne, an eminent Queen's Counsel, a man known for taking up the cases and causes of people who don't have a voice in this country. We haven't just gone and picked any and anybody to come and run for you. We have a team that blends We have a team that knows what it is. You know, Jack Dare used to tell me that Peter must pay for Paul. God bless his soul. In this small country, you have to know how to blend who you're representing and who has the capacity to carry the weight and who just simply can't carry the weight. And Ralph has added to this team because he's in a position not just to speak as an eminent Queen's Counsel, but as a man who is deeply rooted in theology. How many of you know that Ralph has studied at Codrington College in theology? How many of you know that he is consumed with the spiritual development of this nation and not just the worldly development and prosperity of his constituents? So I say to you that the people of Christchurch South, whether it is in Atlantic Shores or Carter's Gap, whether it is in Paradise Village, whether it is in Dover, whether it is in representing the interests of those who have been the victims of the South Coast sewage system, whether it is in representing and making me understand that he is passionate about a new form of local governance in this country to deepen the participation of you as average citizens. In Ralph Thorne, you have a man who can add value to this country. Not simply a man with a voice full of sound and fury signifying nothing. When Shakespeare wrote those lines, he did not know he was casting his eyes into the future and speaking of about a man who would be born a mile and a quarter called John Boyce. And then you have Ronald Jones. How does a man get into a fight with every single body he meets up with, Lana? From the children, to the teachers, to the people in the ministry, to the people of Barbados. Can you forget crackheads? If bombast, listen to me. If bombast was the currency of the nation instead of the Barbados dollar, Ronald Jones would be the richest man in Barbados. Because there's nobody more bombastic than Ronald Jones. And when I talk to teachers in this country, and when we meet formally with stakeholders, it is as if they're peering out the hair. They don't know where to go. Barbados had a reputation for being at the head of education in the region. I know. I traveled this region and this world as far as Brunei, representing this country's educational interests. We left this country, Cynthia would tell you, we came in and found 4 out of every 10 children leaving with 4 out of every 10 leaving with CXC certificates, 4 or more. And we carried it to 6 out of every 10. We found nobody with technology. We found schools that were not repaired. And what are we coming back to find again? School plants that shutting down every month because of environmental problems. Children that are having problems with indiscipline, and largely because bullying is taking root in the schools. Largely because you don't have buses to be able to pick up the children on time. What do you expect to happen when you got children standing in the sun 2 and 3 hours next to a bus stop? This is the kind of Barbados that he has reduced us to. And in the way that Sandyford asked us, how did we get here? I have to ask Ronald Jones, how did you get our educational system here, Ronald Jones? And then of all things, the worst crime of all. The worst crime of all. And the people of St. John and the people of Barbados know it. The reversal of Errol Barrow's legacy with respect to free tertiary education in this country. Anybody who was any kind of man at all, from the time Chris Sinclair and Frondel Stewart brought that policy to the cabinet, if you were a teacher and a unionist with passion in you, as Ronald Jones ought to have been, then he would have said, gentlemen and ladies, if this policy passes the cabinet of Barbados, I herewith resign immediately. That is what I expected from Ronald Jones. Not to sit down mute, not to sit down silent like a boy and perpetrate on the residents of Kingsland and Lodge Road and Wotton the destruction of the dreams of the parents. Not only do those parents now have to suck salt to make mortgages and to make rent, but they can't even see the children that leave school, go to university, because they don't have the money, the 5, the 6, the 7,000. And even if they can make it for one, they can't make it for 3 children or 4 children. Is this China that only got single children families? Are you now asking parents to choose, like God, who shall go forward and who shall be condemned to a life of poverty and ignorance because they can't get the opportunity that in a properly run Barbados, with choices made, that we can do and we shall do as a Barbados Labour Party, God willing, in this country with your vote. The choice for the people of Christchurch, East Central, could never be clearer. Ryan Strachan versus Ronald Jones, the battle of the R's. The difference is Ryan Strachan is part of an economic team that will help save your house and give you back prosperity. The difference is Ryan Strachan is part of an economic team that will find and make the payment of education for tertiary a priority, because we know that we can only get out of poverty through education in this country. You know it. I know it. We're not making mock sport about that. We have one chance at this thing called life. Lana, I know where your son is working now, helping me out. If Akil didn't go to St. Michael's School and didn't have a chance to go to university, what you would be doing? If Ryan Strachan, many of you may not know this, Ryan Strachan's family and my family go way back. If Ryan Strachan was not given the chance to go to Commermere School, if Ryan Strachan was not given the chance to go to UE, if Ryan Strachan was not given the chance to become the fine economist that he is, he and his family would not be where they are today. And why should Ryan benefit and not his son? Why should Ryan benefit and not your daughter? Why should Ryan benefit and not your granddaughter? It's about choices, my people. And I ask you in whose name they act, because when you see the kind of choices that these men make and who they put on top and who they favor, you understand why we are in the position that we are in this country. So the choice to the people of Christchurch East Central can never be easier, can never be clearer. One is for the future, and one is for the destruction of the future. Ronald Jones has destroyed your present and will destroy your future. Ryan Strachan will rebuild it. And as somebody told me the other day, B comes before D in the alphabet, so you know what to do. And as for Christchurch West, William Duguid, my brother, all I can say to your opponent, who is a member of parliament and who is consumed by things that are too high for me, Kadir. So that when you look at the team I submit to you is a team that is ready to hit the ground running from day one. And you have seen aspects of our policy floating about the internet. I spoke about it on Thursday night. And the most amazing thing about that policy is that it speaks to our reality. It is fit for purpose. And what do I mean by that? It recognizes that the day after an election, and you will hear me say this over and over and over, the day after an election, most governments have to deal with one crisis, or 2 crises, or 3. But we come to government having to deal with about 15 crises. We have a problem with our foreign exchange. The reserves, I just told you, we have to do what we can to save the Barbados dollar. We have a problem with our debt. We are the third most indebted country in the entire world, exceeded only by Japan and Greece. We have a problem with our tax system. We have a problem with the arrears that are owed to hundreds and thousands of businesses and households, income tax arrears and VAT arrears, income tax refunds and VAT arrears. We have a problem with the South Coast sewage system that if it is not fixed, not a hotel will get a tourist this Christmas. We have a problem with our garbage trucks. And if we don't get garbage trucks on the road in a hurry, we will have a major public health problem in this country. Up to today, the people of Roach Village in St. George called for 2 weeks now. Not an ounce of garbage has been collected from outside of their district. We have a problem with buses. If you can't get to work, how are you going to keep your job? If you can't get to work, how are you going to earn the money to buy food? We have a problem with indiscipline, because if we have our young people beating up and stabbing up each other, what will the future be? If we don't put some safety officers on the buses to hold them down and to help guide them, what are we going to happen? We have a problem with the sugar industry. If the sugar industry people are not paid in a hurry, they will not reap. And if they don't reap, they're not going to plant. And if they don't plant, it takes 5 to 7 years to bring back a field into sugar production. And I can go on and on and on tonight. But I've also come to answer a second question for you. You say 15 minutes? No problem. Because I got the red bag. I have come tonight to also ask you, in whose name does this government act? I know in whose name Grantley Adams acted. I know in whose name Tom Adams acted. I know in whose name Owen Arthur acted. And I know in whose name a Barbados Labour Party under my leadership shall act, because it shall be for the people. But there are a number of things that happened in recent days that have got me angry. We met first in 2015 outside of Tyrrell Court. I'll never forget it, Clyde. You spoke then about the allowances that the government was taking away. And on that same night, I spoke about a young man who lost his life on the ABC highway. A young man called Abijah Holder. You remember? I spoke about it again at Providence in Christchurch. And Ralph, you spoke on that night. When I read the newspapers and heard that his mother, Felicia, had been prosecuted and charged with, I don't even know what the charge was, death by reckless driving or some madness, vehicular manslaughter, I started to wonder if we really have lost all sense in this country. His mother, and I don't know the facts, I really don't, and I'm not trying to trespass on the role of the Director of Public Prosecutions or the Commissioner of Police. But what I do know is that she shall not go into that law court alone. And tonight from this platform, Kerry Simmons, I say to you, and to Wilfred Abrams, and to Ralph Thorne, and to Gregory Nichols, and to Dale Marshall, that this Barbados Labour Party will help represent this young mother, because I believe it is a travesty of social justice. And Wilfred, come to this platform, please. William might be leading the team, but you are a lawyer. I don't see Ralph underneath there. He's a Queen's Counsel. But you will now have documents that will have to explain how she can face the law courts in this country alone. And the person who built that obstruction on the highway does not have to face a single day in this country.
Can't happen.
Not bout here, in the language of Cade Sight. Not in our Barbados. How do you think that ordinary Bajans feel tonight to know that how does a mother, having lost her son on the day on which he left primary school to go to Queen's College, how do you understand that how this woman can even face tomorrow morning and know full well that the man who built and the company who built that obstruction on the highway, who was told that it had to move, for whom the chief technical officer on the 7th of March 2012 said the design as it stands not only encroaches on the road shoulder, but also the road reserve, as well as the land which is needed for any future expansion of the highway, which, given the rate of increase in traffic volumes, would soon be necessary. How does that gentleman not face action? And how has the town planning department not gone up there to dig it up? When on the 6th of March 2015, the PS Prime Minister's office sends also a document where reason number 4 for refusal is that the access egress located within the acquisition corridor of the ABC Highway has not been altered as requested by condition 15 of application number 0081-01-2010E to allow tanker trucks to use the access egress, which will exacerbate an already, what I say, Wilfred? Exacerbate an already hazardous traffic situation. How does that situation continue? How does the chief technical officer? You remember when I first spoke in 2015, Mark Maloney had the audacity to come out of the Nation carried a headline, "Not so Mia." You can see it. And he quarreled with the fact that I could even have the audacity to speak about that obstruction. But here came the biggest lie of all. But you know, I wonder why people, birds of a feather, flock together. He said that the Ministry of Public Works, Maloney explained that the junction was, open quotation marks, actually designed by the Ministry of Transport and Works, and the developer just put the junction there. He would have you believe that the Ministry of Public Works put that junction there. Next one. The Deputy Chief Technical Officer, whose name I shall not call from this platform, said that some of Mr. Maloney's comments, and this is a memo on the 3rd of July 2015 written to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Public Works. This is not the first time I have spoken to this document, and Kerry, you have spoken to this document already. Some of Mr. Maloney's comments are not accurate, and further, they cast aspersions on the professional integrity of the technical staff of this ministry. She said that the ministry does not provide design services to the private sector. You hear a lie? Who told the lie when Mr. Maloney said the ministry designed it? She went further to say that the entrance was not built in compliance with the regulatory requirements, and that it is simply not true to say so, as the comments of the ministry are on record with the chief town planner. That is this first document I sent to you. And if they think that only they can have Haggett Hall moments, look at this in relation to the memo and the writing of the chief technical officer. I say to you, gentlemen, I can find more. That is enough for you to start this case on. Go and represent Felicia Holder.
You know, Mayor, unlike the government's lawyers, we don't lose.
And we don't charge. And what if it is right? We didn't lose and we didn't charge. We worked with David Commission to stop you from being fingerprinted at the airport. And we stopped Frondell Stewart with that. They worked again to defend the Commonwealth citizens. And Felicia, meditate and pray. Because there is goodness and mercy in this world. And you should not have to go through what you are going through. I believe in the rule of law. And I say to you tonight from this platform that any enforcement notice on the highway shall be carried out as one of the first acts of a Barbados Labour Party government, because you cannot have technical officers saying that something must happen and then you ignore it. I'm not even going to get into how all of a sudden the building at the port now all of a sudden has walls going up on it when it had a stop notice to stop construction. So when I ask you, in whose name do they act? In whose interests do they act? You begin to understand what I mean. When I see Leroy Paris being told, however coincidentally, that $4.5 million is unfrozen. How coincidental, Clyde? In whose name do they act? And when I see, and I want to tell you this one real quick, because, you know, a matter has happened and I am going to submit it to the unions tomorrow because I think that it has to be dealt with. The Barbados Secondary Teachers Union and the Barbados Union of Teachers. This government, and I know what it is to be a Minister of Education, this government changed the rules on scholarships and on exhibitions in this country. They did. They're entitled to do that. But when you change the rules as a matter of a cabinet decision, you must also change the law, because access to a Barbados scholarship or exhibition is not governed by the pronouncement of a minister or the pronouncement of a cabinet. It is governed by law, by the education regulations made pursuant to the Education Act. I am not getting into the names because I don't believe in bringing minors' names to the platform. But suffice it to say that as far back as November, this government received an opinion from the Solicitor General telling them that they had purported to make changes to the law by a cabinet decision. And as a result of that, they could not do it. And the one daughter of a minister who got Michael Yerwood to write the government must now receive a Barbados exhibition. I have no problem with that. But what I have a problem with is November, December, January, February, and March. 5 months. There are dozens of Barbadian students who also would have been entitled to receive scholarships and exhibitions. It should have been brought to the public. It should have been told to the people who can now go and become, and it's not only about the money, it's about the dignity and honor of being a scholarship winner and an exhibition winner. But for some, it is about the money, especially when you go and you stop people from being able to access tertiary education free. I say that this country has to be a country grounded in social justice. And I say that even though it will be a cost on the consolidated fund, Ronald Jones screwed up. Ronald Jones messed up his ministry. I don't believe he did it himself. But the truth is, a minister takes responsibility for the actions of their ministry. And he should have called in those people by now, Cynthia, as we would have done. He should have called in also the unions. And he should have briefed everybody that they now have a duty to inform people who have been told that they could not previously qualify for a Barbados Scholarship and an exhibition, that they should do so. I don't have the time tonight to deal with the matter with Cement and Mark Maloney and Arawak and what might be at risk with 200 jobs at St. Lucie. But when I say to you, in whose name does this government act, I mean it. So I ask you tonight at Briar Hall, and can I ask the Christchurch team to join me on stage? Because you must know, come William, come Ralph, come Ryan, come Medic. I have not had the chance to speak about Medic properly tonight, and I want to end on him because this is his moment and his constituent. Come forward, no music, come. Take out the music. This man is running against a man who is consumed only with how it gonna look. His name is Stephen Lashley. He does not care whether people benefit from the Cultural Industries Act. He just wants it to look like he do something. He does not care whether young people benefit from the youth affairs and youth policy. He just wants it to look like something. He does not care about anything. He will come next week to do and turn sod for community center at Silver Hill that will never be constructed with him as Member of Parliament. He will come in the next week or two to rename this field at Briar Hall after Morris King because he wants to beg back with deep DLP supporters so that they can come and support him because he knows that Medic has him in trouble. I have said that this man will redefine representation in this country, and I mean it from my heart. You heard all of these men tonight speak about how a young man gets up on a Sunday morning and go and teach people how to drive. Nobody don't pay him. How a young man takes his money and help them start up businesses. Nobody don't give him the seed capital to do it. How a young man takes youngsters and builds things all through Silver Hill and Gall Hill. Nobody don't help him. I say to you, the people from Graham Hall to Briar Hall, to Warner's Terrace to Silver Hill to Gall Hill, I need a medic in my team in Christchurch. And as we close this meeting tonight, my friends, as we close this meeting tonight, I told you from St. Lucie, join me in the countdown. Then it was for a dissolution of Parliament. Tonight, it is for real liberation. Tonight, it is for real freedom. Tonight, because from 11 weeks from today, whatever happens, the Governor General of Barbados must receive the writ for the new members of Parliament of the Barbados House of Assembly. And I ask you, the people of Christchurch, as I asked the people of St. John on Thursday, give me Adrian Medic-Ford. Give me William Duguid. Give me Ryan Strong. Give me Wilfred Abrams. And give me Ralph Thorne. Give me 5 good men in Christchurch to help me fix back this country. Give me 5 good men to help me rebuild Barbados. Give me 5 good men to make your life better. Good night, happy Easter, and reflect on those 2 questions for me. God bless you. God bless Barbados. A good song.
the place crowdy. All aboard? Yeah. You ready to roll? Yeah. Can I talk just a little bit? Can I really talk just a little bit? Can I really talk just a little bit? Hold on. Now is the time.
Now is the time.
Everybody ready?
Everybody ready?
Go tell your friends.
Go tell your friends.
Tell your whole family.
Your whole
And
family.
tell the stranger up on the left.
On the left.
Tell the stranger up on the right.
On the right.
We rolling with BLP. It's one chance to make this right. Together we rolling. Together we moving. Together we working. And we building. Tell me how you're feeling. You know why? All our way with the BLP. All our way one family. All our way with the BLP. All our way with me. Come let me step.
With me up.
Be making it better.
With me up.
Climbing up the ladder.
With me up.
Being looking back. Lad. Everybody now come get aboard.
Yeah.
We're taking the more heavy load.
No.
Let me come together and make things better. No, we're ready for the road. We don't want a drama. No, get on board with me. It's one big family and we're rolling with BLP. And together we rolling. Together we moving. Together we working. And we building. Tell me how you're feeling. You know why? All our way with the BLP. All our way one family. All our way with the BLP. All our way with me. Come let me step.
With me up.
We making it better.
With me up.
Climbing up the ladder.
With me
And
up.
we ain't looking back, lad.
Red, 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 red.
We're taking the more heavy load.
Red, 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 red.
We're taking the more. Now is the time.
Now is the time.
Everybody ready?
Everybody ready?
Go tell your friends.
Go tell your friends.
Tell your whole family.
Your whole
And
family.
tell the stranger up on the left.
On the left.
Tell the stranger up on the right.
On the right.
We rolling with BLP and we making everything right. Together we rolling. Boy, everybody. Together we moving. Together we working. And we building. Tell me how you're feeling. You know why? All our way with the BLP. All our way one family. All our way with the BLP. All our way with me. Come let me step.
With me up.
Be making it better.
With me up.
Climbing up the ladder.
With me up.
Being looking back, lad. Together we rolling. Together we moving. Together we working. And we building. Tell me how you're feeling. You know why? All our way with the BLP. All our way one family. All our way with the BLP. All our way with me. Come let me step.
With me up.
Be making it better.
With me up.
Climbing up the ladder.
With me up.
Being looking back, lad. Howdy! BLP got the place crowdy. All aboard?
Yeah.
You ready to roll?
Yeah.
Can I talk just a little bit? Can I really talk just a little bit? Can I really talk just a little bit? Hold on! Now is the time.
Now is